The air in the penthouse ballroom was thick with the scent of expensive cologne and unspoken threats. For 3 years, Leo had been Julian Vance's shadow, his enforcer, a fixture as silent and sharp as the crystal glasses on the tables. Tonight, he was also the warm body at Julian's side, a decorative piece of muscle. Julian, with a cigarette dangling from his lips, leaned toward an associate, his voice a low murmur that carried despite the music. He explained that Leo was just a thing that had attached itself to him, something he couldn't be bothered to shake off. Kicking him out would be an inconvenience, an exertion of energy he couldn't spare. His associate suggested a trade, a fresh face, and Julian casually agreed. Leo gave no sign he had heard, his gaze fixed on the sprawling, glittering lights of Port City below. He didn't see the way Julian's expression darkened when he caught the flicker of something unreadable in Leo's eyes. Life with Julian Vance was a brutal education. Julian, the heir to the Vance syndicate, was a paradox of curated violence and startling good looks. Operating in his world meant embracing the chaos, and Leo, young and desperate for a foothold, had done just that. The work was dirty, but the pay was a lifeline. 3 years in, and Julian's stare still felt like a physical weight. That night at the gala, it was particularly heavy. At the docks, a major shipment had come in without a hitch. The celebration that followed was a blur of champagne and forced camaraderie in a private downtown club. Leo was there for one reason: Caleb, his gentle, soft-spoken friend from back home, the one who had given him a place to stay when he first arrived, raw and lost. Tonight was the night. Fortified by a few fingers of bourbon, Leo felt a dizzying courage swell in his chest. He saw a familiar silhouette and his heart hammered. He stumbled forward, a confession bubbling up, words about admiration and a constant, magnetic pull. He reached out and grabbed a hand, but it wasn't Caleb's slender one. This hand was strong, calloused, and unforgiving. Leo's eyes struggled to focus, and the world snapped into sharp, terrifying clarity. Julian Vance stood before him, an unholy silence falling over their entourage. A cold dread washed over Leo. He remembered what had happened to the last person who tried to get too familiar with Julian at a party. A pretty boy who ended up dumped in the industrial district. Julian's voice cut through the quiet, deceptively soft, asking why he looked so frightened. He moved closer, his face a landscape of sharp angles in the dim light. He pressed a hand to the back of Leo's head, the grip possessive and absolute. He commented on Leo's quiet appeal, his pale, cool demeanor, a contrast to the brutes he usually surrounded himself with. A slow, predatory smile spread across Julian's face as he took a drag from his cigarette. It suited his tastes, he declared. That night, Julian took him to his sprawling villa overlooking the ocean for the first time. The press of his lips against Leo's collarbone was a brand. Leo instinctively recoiled, putting space between them. Julian's eyebrow arched in amusement, questioning his lack of experience. Leo coughed, his voice low, trying to explain that it was just hero worship, that he held no other ambitions. Besides, he was nothing special. Julian simply replied that he was giving Leo permission to covet him. His hand traced the line of Leo's neck, then slid down to his waist, sending an involuntary shiver down his spine. He asked if Leo knew how to serve him. Julian shed his shirt, pulling Leo flush against his chest. He had no interest in platonic arrangements. Panic seized Leo. He insisted, his voice barely a whisper, that he was a virgin. Julian's response was a soft murmur against his ear, a coaxing promise that he liked him too. When Leo pleaded, afraid of being hurt, Julian's demeanor softened for a fraction of a second. He kissed his forehead, promising to be gentle. Still, Leo resisted, suggesting he find someone else. Julian's eyes narrowed, the warmth vanishing as if it had never been. His grip on the back of Leo's neck tightened, his voice a dangerous undercurrent suggesting he felt he was being mocked. He was not a man to be played with. Before Leo could stammer out an explanation, Julian's mouth was on his, a kiss that was not a request but a claim. Leo pushed him away, his eyes red as he wiped his lips. Julian's promise to help him accept it was a threat whispered against his ear. Julian admired his stubbornness, finding it flavorful, before a sharp slap to his rear underscored his point. From that day on, Leo's job description changed. He was Julian's personal enforcer and his bed warmer. Julian was tactile, constantly needing to touch him, to run a hand through his hair or rest a hand on his waist. His moods were mercurial, his insomnia a demon that only Leo's presence seemed to soothe. Under the soft glow of a desk lamp, Julian would blow smoke rings that dissolved against Leo's face, and in those moments, Leo felt less than human. He hated the public displays, the casual ownership, always terrified Caleb would see and misunderstand. His flinching and coldness in front of others enraged Julian. On several occasions, Julian had erupted. He had sneered, asking Leo if he thought the crew listened to him for his own merits. He reminded him that he was just a plaything, that every thread on his back was bought and paid for by Julian Vance. Leo would stand there, head bowed, and absorb the verbal blows until they subsided, eventually murmuring an apology. Julian, momentarily stunned by the submission, would then cup his face, a strange curse escaping his lips as he called him his little wolf cub. Leo kept a small, worn photograph of Caleb hidden away. He almost got caught looking at it once. In a moment of sheer panic, he pulled out a magazine clipping of a popular actor instead. Julian had sneered, questioning Leo's taste, wondering how someone who supposedly crushed on him could admire such a type. To quell the suspicion, Leo forced himself to close the distance and kiss Julian, his lips trembling. He mumbled something about Julian being special. Julian's eyes went cold. He took the magazine clipping, dropped it, and ground it into the expensive rug with his heel. He dragged Leo onto the sofa, his teeth sinking into Leo's shoulder hard enough to draw blood. Physical intimacy with Julian was demanding, almost a daily ritual. Leo's body ached constantly. Not long after the photo incident, he heard the actor from the clipping had been blacklisted, his career ruined overnight. A chill went down Leo's spine. He became even more cautious, terrified of what Julian might do if he ever found out about Caleb. Julian often called him an aloof beauty, remarking on his thin skin and stubborn refusal to admit he liked him. The praise was always followed by a blow or a scathing remark. One night, after another man had tried to flirt with Julian and Leo hadn't reacted, Julian's fury was immense. He'd accused Leo of being blind, of letting others disrespect him. Leo's forehead was bleeding from being shoved against a wall, and Julian's punishment was swift and brutal. His spirit broken, Leo went to Caleb. He confessed he couldn't serve Julian anymore and begged Caleb to run away with him. Caleb looked at him with pity, sighing. He spoke of Julian's infamous volatility, the reason everyone feared him. He poured Leo a glass of water, his touch on Leo's hair a small comfort, but he couldn't leave. He revealed he was seriously ill and would likely die in Port City. He looked at Leo with a strange envy, musing that if Julian liked him instead, his illness would be cured in an instant. Swallowing the ache in his heart, Leo told Caleb he would take care of him. He resolved to make Julian happy. If he could keep Julian satisfied, he could stay longer, earn more money. He became what Julian wanted. He listened, he obeyed, he even initiated their encounters. He took on the riskiest odd jobs for the syndicate, always coming back bruised and bloodied. Julian would stare at him, his brow furrowed, questioning why he pushed himself so hard when no one else did. He complained that if Leo was broken, he wouldn't be able to sleep. Leo's only thought was that the more time he spent on dangerous jobs, the less time he had to spend in Julian's bed. He committed Julian's every preference and aversion to memory, navigating his temper with the skill of a bomb disposal expert. Pleasing Julian meant more money for Caleb's treatments. One day, while Julian was in a meeting with a developer named Mr. Harrison, Leo overheard Harrison in the restroom, talking on his phone. The man was calling Julian a bastard, born from filth, sneering about how he wanted to grind his smug face into the mud. He was planning to dump a mountain of bad debt on the Vance syndicate after the contract was signed. Leo looked at his own reflection. Julian was many things, but this man was just vile. A cold calm settled over him. He found a garbage bag, pulled it over Harrison's head in the hallway, and beat him senseless. Later, when Julian saw Harrison's swollen face, he couldn't suppress a laugh. When Harrison demanded to see the security footage, Julian lit a cigarette and coolly asked what made him so sure it was one of his men. The deal was off. Afterward, Leo admitted he had heard Harrison insulting Julian and warned him about the trap. He looked directly into Julian's light, unreadable eyes, and told him the man's flattery was a lie. He saw something flicker in Julian's gaze, a minute tremor. Julian reached out and ruffled the back of his head. His voice softer than Leo had ever heard it, acknowledging that Leo had done it for him. Leo quickly denied it, flustered by the implication. In the car on the way back, Julian pulled him close. Someone sent him the security footage. He watched it, then commented that when his other men did things, it was pretense. Leo was different. His loyalty was sincere. Leo turned his face away, unable to look at him. Julian started sending him on errands that kept him out in the sun and wind. He overheard Julian talking to his brother one day, who remarked that Julian was unusually indulgent with this particular lover. Julian had laughed, legs crossed, and said it was because Leo liked him so much. He boasted that no matter how he treated Leo, he took it. He said he was just testing the limits of Leo's endurance. The words sent a shock through Leo. Julian thought he was in love with him. A strange sense of relief washed over him. It was a good thing Julian didn't actually like him back. He was safe. As he stepped into the room, he saw the smile freeze on Julian's face. Julian handed him an expensive watch, telling him not to be embarrassed about his feelings. He clasped it on Leo's wrist, promising to keep him by his side forever. Leo felt a deep unease. He hated it when Julian was good to him. It felt more dangerous than his anger. He didn't dare resist. Julian never signed the contract with Harrison and instead began to squeeze his company. Harrison, cornered, hired a crew to get revenge. A pickup truck slammed into their car on a deserted road. Julian's forehead was bleeding as several men swarmed their vehicle, smashing the windows with iron bars. They screamed threats, promising to end him. As Julian called for backup, Leo got out of the car, his face a cold mask. He was paid to protect his boss. He took a punch to the mouth that rattled his teeth. Julian's eyes blazed. He snarled that they had made a mistake putting their hands on his man, then launched himself into the fray. He was a whirlwind of controlled fury. Just as Leo saw one of the thugs raise a pipe to smash the back of Julian's head, he threw himself in the way. The world exploded in pain. The last thing he saw was Julian's face, contorted with a rage that was almost primal, as he descended upon the man who had struck him. When the backup arrived, Julian was kneeling over him. For the first time, his gaze was not ruthless, just red-rimmed and terrified. He leaned down, and their mouths met in a kiss that tasted of blood and desperation. That afternoon, he carried Leo inside, his composure shattered. He whispered that Leo was the first person to ever be so truly loyal to him. He held him through the night, a broken man guarding his most precious possession. The next day, Julian gave him a deed to a condo and a bank card with an obscene amount of money on it. Leo saved the money and never moved into the condo. He had no plans to stay in Port City forever. Caleb still needed him. Julian took him to the Vance family estate. Leo felt out of place. He asked Julian if it was appropriate. Julian's hand cupped his cheek, his smile gentle. He told Leo that his heart wasn't made of stone. He had to give him some hope. The old housekeeper, Maria, pulled Leo aside. She spoke of Julian's lonely, violent childhood, how he'd dismembered a pet rabbit and pushed his cousin into a pond. But she explained the context. The other servants mocked him, and his cousin had tried to injure him with a power tool. Julian's violence was always a reaction. Maria told him Leo was the first person Julian had ever brought home. She showed Leo to a room filled with Julian's childhood things. He found a book of drawings. Amidst the dark, chaotic sketches was one vibrant, colorful painting. When Julian found him there, Leo asked if he could have it. Julian was silent for a long time. Then he asked what exactly Leo liked about him. He questioned if Leo liked the damaged child he used to be. Leo had no answer. He thought of what Caleb once said, that love meant being tolerant, feeling another's pain, wanting to help them regardless of their flaws. Julian knelt beside him, a strange look on his face, as if seeing him for the first time. After his injury, Julian forbade him from taking on dangerous work. He fussed over his weight and had him tutored, wanting to send him to college. He told Leo he was too young and bright to be wasted as his muscle. He only had one condition. Leo had to stay by his side always. The evenings were spent with Leo studying at a large desk while Julian worked quietly on his laptop nearby, his presence a constant, watchful warmth. He would drive Leo to his classes in a Rolls-Royce, fuming with jealousy over the way other students looked at him. Leo learned to soothe him, to wrap his arms around his neck and whisper that Julian was the only one. He felt the weight of his deception growing heavier each day. The money Julian gave him, the clothes he wore, the food he ate, all of it went to support the lie while the cash went to Caleb for his treatments. Caleb was almost cured, but his demands for money kept increasing. He told Leo that after the final treatment, they would leave together. One afternoon, Caleb sent him a link to a Society news article. The Vance and Preston families were announcing an engagement. Julian had never mentioned it. Caleb urged him to leave, telling him he was a passerby in Julian's life. At the next banquet, Leo overheard someone asking Julian if the powerful Preston family would be angry about him keeping a lover. Julian, the same cigarette in his mouth, the same casual cruelty in his voice, replied that it was the Prestons' idea. He needed to be seen with someone. A beautiful newcomer was being presented that night. A young man with a scholarly, gentle air, whose face was a more delicate, refined version of Leo's own. Since a replacement was already here, Leo was no longer necessary. A strange emptiness bloomed in his chest. It wasn't the happiness he expected. Julian continued, his voice laced with amusement, saying Leo was so hopelessly devoted he'd probably throw himself in the river if he were dismissed. He was so certain of Leo's love. Leo, standing just behind him, heard only the tail end of a question from an associate. "Score that, okay?" "I agree," Leo said, his voice clear and steady. The good humor vanished from Julian's face. His expression shifted through a storm of disbelief and rage. He gritted his teeth and asked him to repeat himself. Leo looked at him, terrified Julian would change his mind. He said that since Julian was tired of him, they should part ways. He mentioned he hadn't been home in a long time, and now that Caleb had quit his job due to his health, he needed to go back and take care of him for his final surgery. Someone tried to smooth things over, suggesting Leo was just jealous. They pointed out that Julian had put him through college, and it was only natural for a young man to be tempted by the world. A beta as strikingly handsome as Leo would have plenty of omegas chasing him. Julian just laughed, a sound with no warmth in it. He stubbed out his cigarette. "I'm done indulging you," he snarled. "Get out." A vicious kick sent Leo stumbling back, pain shooting up his side. Julian's true nature was showing itself again. But the meeting was important, so Julian had to stay. That was Leo's chance. Back at the villa, he packed. He transferred all his money into a single account. The butler was stunned, asking if the young master knew he was leaving. Leo put on a pained smile and said he'd been thrown out. The butler couldn't believe it. Just as Leo was walking down the long driveway, a car screeched to a halt beside him. Julian emerged into the drizzling rain, his eyes locking on the suitcase. He asked where he thought he was going. He was supposed to be in a meeting. As Julian grabbed his hand, the passenger door opened, and the beautiful replacement stepped out. Leo forced a smile, remarking that they made a good couple and wished them well. Julian exploded. He grabbed Leo by the collar, roaring, asking what he was thinking. He yelled that he hadn't built him up just to watch him walk away. He dragged him back inside and began a frenzied investigation into every aspect of Leo's life. He accused him of having a lover at the university, of this being the reason he was so eager to leave. He screamed that he knew someone so stubborn would never truly be his. In the gray, rain-lashed light of the living room, Julian finally pieced it all together. He confronted Leo, his voice dangerously low, accusing him of loving Caleb from the very beginning. The watch, the money, it all went to him. He finally understood why Leo never bought anything for himself. Leo looked at the chains in Julian's hand and, like a cornered animal, tried to placate him, claiming Caleb was just family. The lie didn't work. The warmth Julian had shown him was gone, replaced by the primal madman from the rumors. That night, the newcomer quietly told Leo he was leaving. He knew he could never win as long as Leo was there. With that small act of grace, Leo fled Port City, dragging his bruised and exhausted body back to his quiet hometown. He couldn't sleep, haunted by the image of Julian's cold fury. His phone was filled with missed calls from him. He texted a friend still in the syndicate who told him all hell had broken loose. Julian had returned to find him gone and had destroyed everything in the room. The replacement who let him go was beaten severely. His friend sent him a video. Julian, his face pale with rage, demanding to know where Leo was. Leo knew he had been right to run. His friend begged him to come back, saying Julian was taking his anger out on everyone. Over the phone, Leo's throat felt tight. He told his friend to tell Julian he was afraid of him, that he didn't want to be with him anymore. Suddenly, a sharp voice cut through the call from the other end. "Say that again." It was Julian. Leo panicked and ripped the SIM card from his phone. He took only a fraction of the money, about $20,000 in cash. He should have been ecstatic, free to take Caleb and leave. But his head was buzzing. Caleb was frail when he saw him. His first question was about Julian. Leo said he had run away and begged Caleb to come with him. With his savings, he paid for Caleb's final surgery. Afterward, Caleb couldn't do heavy work, so Leo took a menial job to support them both. Caleb was kind. He cooked for him. He wasn't demanding or violent like Julian. And yet, food didn't taste as good. His mind kept drifting back. He remembered the kindness Caleb had shown him as a child, giving him his food, carrying him to school when his leg was broken. Caleb had told him that one day he would have to rely on Leo. This was him repaying that debt. One evening, a convoy of black cars rolled into their small town. Leo's heart seized. He was carrying a tray of drinks at the local bar where he worked when he saw him. Julian, his face grim, walked in. Their eyes met across the room, and Leo felt his breath catch. He should have known. Julian's reach was everywhere. The tray slipped from his numb fingers, shattering on the floor. He bolted out the back door, running blindly through the night until he reached their small house. He burst inside, grabbing Caleb, telling him they had to go. Caleb looked at him, his expression unreadable. He asked if Leo truly wanted to be with him, that he would only be a burden. Just as police lights flashed outside, Caleb was pulled away. Leo looked up and saw Julian standing in the doorway. The window shattered as Julian punched through it, rushing in and grabbing Leo by the neck. He demanded he repeat what he'd said, that he never loved him. He dragged him toward the car, hissing questions about whether he'd slept with Caleb. Inside the car, Julian's touch was rough, possessive. Against his will, Leo's body responded, a betrayal that made his eyes burn with shame. Julian's voice was broken. He had never imagined Leo would lie to him. He felt like a fool. Back in the villa, Julian's eyes were bloodshot. He said he could accept Leo being a user, a parasite. He could tie him up and keep him forever. He knelt on the floor, his bravado gone, replaced by a raw vulnerability. But the lie, he whispered, the idea that for 3 years everything had been a performance, had made his entire world a joke. An unexpected sorrow pricked at Leo's eyes. He looked at Julian, really looked at him, and saw that the reckless boy had become a man. The suit he wore a testament to the responsibilities he now carried. They had been together for a long time. Leo told Julian that if he wanted to kill him, he should just do it. Julian's response was a vicious threat against Caleb. His anguish poured out of him, a torrent of pain and betrayal. He pointed to his own chest, saying he was human, that he could feel pain. He called Leo the greatest liar he had ever known. Leo finally spoke, his voice hollow. He said he helped Caleb voluntarily. It was between them. Julian laughed, a terrible, broken sound. He thought Leo was his dog, but he had been Caleb's all along. Leo begged him not to hurt Caleb, promising to do anything. The desperation in his voice seemed to be the final straw for Julian. He revealed the truth. Caleb's illness had been cured long ago. Every dollar Leo sent him was used to build a new business empire, to scheme his way into another wealthy family's circle. Julian told him the real reason Caleb had brought Leo to him 3 years ago. Julian had nearly destroyed Caleb for trying to proposition him. Caleb knew Julian had a weakness for his type, the cool, quiet ones, so he served Leo up as bait. Julian admitted he'd liked Leo from the first moment he saw him, that he knew Leo was likely trying to trap him, but he hadn't cared. He never imagined it was all for Caleb. He had wanted to build Leo up, to give him an independent, free life. Every word was a knife in Leo's heart. Julian picked up the small, framed painting Leo had treasured and smashed it on the floor. Leo trembled, his voice a bare whisper, asking for forgiveness. He offered to stay to repay him. Julian's eyes were cold as he asked if this, too, was an act. He began to visit Leo's room every night, but there was no communication, only a cold, silent presence. One evening, he sat in the dark, scrolling through Leo's old text messages to Caleb. He pointed out one with a bitter smile. The day Leo had been injured protecting him, he had gone to make soup for Caleb. He recounted how Leo had given him a perfunctory hug after being hunted, but had called Caleb a little fool and soothed him for hours when a stranger was rude to him. Julian was like a caged animal, his pain radiating in the oppressive silence. Suddenly, Leo realized what day it was. He looked at the man drowning in his own misery and whispered, "Happy birthday, Julian." Julian, smelling of whiskey, went still. For the first time, he didn't touch him. He lit a cigarette, then walked out. Julian left for a long business trip. One day, Leo woke up to see Caleb standing over him, dressed in expensive clothes. He was with a man Leo recognized as being from the Preston family. Caleb said he was there to save him. He told him Julian had refused the Preston marriage, angering the patriarch, and was now isolated and vulnerable in another city. A strange pang went through Leo's heart. Julian didn't want the marriage. He wanted love, sincere love. Caleb tried to hand him a card, calling it compensation, gloating that Julian was getting what he deserved. Leo looked at him with disgust. He told Caleb he was the last person who had the right to call Julian evil. If Julian were truly evil, Caleb wouldn't be standing there now. He felt the crushing weight of his debt to Julian. In the 20 days Julian had been gone, Leo had thought of him for 19 of them. His feelings for Caleb had turned to dust. He tried to leave to find Julian, but Caleb's men stopped him. Caleb sighed, polishing his glasses, asking what had happened to him, if he had developed feelings for his abuser. Leo replied that he owed him. Caleb's face twisted. He told Leo not to imagine he could ever go back to Julian, that people like Julian would destroy him. He tried to touch him, reminding him of the years he'd spent fawning over him. Leo punched him. He snarled that he had repaid every childhood debt. He owed him nothing more. At the next major syndicate banquet, Julian returned. He walked in, flanked by his men, radiating a cold, lethal confidence. He systematically dismantled his opponents, throwing down contracts and a video that exposed the Preston family's schemes. He had won. He sat at the main table, playing cards, never once looking at Leo, who sat with Caleb. The smoke-filled room felt suffocating. Leo drank his juice and thought only of slipping away. He had a dream. Julian was standing on a pier, the salty wind whipping through his hair. In the dream, Leo walked up to him wearing a simple white shirt. He kissed Julian and pleaded with him, offering to die for him. He told him he wanted to be with him. He woke up with a gasp, his eyes red. He looked at his own arms, at the faint red marks from where Caleb's men had restrained him. He had to find him. Julian was in the room, his features sharper, colder. He asked if Leo thought he would believe any act of contrition. He assumed Leo was trying to save Caleb again. He grabbed him, his fingers digging into his hair. "I won't save him," Leo said, his voice raw. "I'm done with him. I don't like him." Julian didn't believe him. He began to unbutton Leo's shirt, his mouth finding his collarbone. Just then, an associate came in to report on business. Julian made no move to cover him, leaving him exposed. He wasn't the man he was before, who would have shielded Leo from other eyes.